Welcome everybody, I'm Ed Cruz and this is the last lesson, and today we're going to go over, as I keep continuing our footwork core and curriculum, we're going to go over the breakdown of the individual footworks and just details behind it. I've done this before in the past, but we're going to look at it from a different perspective and like how to look at this, how to teach this and so forth. So when it comes to the obviously stance first, shift second, and then after shift or chorma, then we get into the actual individual footwork. Different ways to break down the footwork, but I usually like to, and there's no set form as far as you have to teach it this way and that way. But if we deal with the forward step, your primary step as far as moving forward towards somebody, I usually like to do it in conjunction with the opposite as well. So in other words, if I work on forward step, then the next thing I'll teach a person is like, okay, let's work on the backward step. So let's spend this particular lesson looking shortly and briefly at details behind the forward step, right? In years past, right, we look at your holding your step, and the main basic forward step is how exactly do I walk towards my target, right? Or move backwards from my target in the technical wingchun way of footwork, okay? And notice the end result that I want you to get out of this is your main goal is to have the control, not the look, the control of your center of gravity. So if you see me move like this to close a gap, that's how you want to look. If you see me look like this, like you're doing some kind of footwork drill, that is not how I want you to look, okay? Wing Chun looks very natural. Wing Chun doesn't look set or preset in some form or manner. There's development and application. So when we look at the forward step, yes, you're taking a forward step and you're breaking down, but if I do a forward step, notice if I do forward step, I'm just walking like this, it should look normal and natural when you're doing this. So looking at the forward step and some of the key features that you want to look at is first maintain, if you can think of yourself on rails, right? Train track rails. Going forward or backward, okay? I'm staying on these rails the entire time. I'm not going from here and shifting off to the side, shifting off the inside, or getting even narrower, right? Wherever my feet are, imagine that's the train wheels itself, basically going in this direction, okay? At this point, when I do my forward step, when I have my foot turn, you need that start-up move. You can't just take a step. You can take a step, but it doesn't have that natural as far as breathing motion or kind of wind up motion when you initiate it, and then it doesn't become smooth. All right, smooth leads to actually fast. If you jerk that motion around, you may look like you get that initial motion to move faster than the wind up phase, but you won't get that continuation of that momentum building up in order to take that forward step. So when I do my turn here, when I make my adjustment here, don't just have your foot stick out like this. This basically is an adjustment where you're winding up to take that first initial step. And when I make that adjustment here, right? A lot of times people think of it, oh, I'm taking, if I do forward step, I turn my foot, I push off this one and I step here and then I finish and I make that adjustment. True, we always break it down 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever amount of steps it's necessary to take that. But in reality, when we do something in Wing Chun, one doesn't move without the other. That means if I was just to move my foot like this, against Wing Chun principle, right? Because if one moves, everything else moves. So my center of gravity here, when I'm holding my stance, it can't just be individually here. If I break it down 1, 2, 3, and then adjust, right? But in actuality, when this foot adjusts, this is already turning, pushing, supporting. This side is already lifting at the same time. And it's not just 1, 2, 3, right? Breakdown, yes, 1, 2, 3. But in reality, when I do this turn, I'm already turning, pushing, supporting. This side's already lifting. And notice I'm not rocking. I'm trying to control that center of gravity where I stern tap at the same time. And then by the time I do this, step and adjust. Notice when I don't go like this. Step, turn, stop, rock. No, actually 1, 2, 3, great. In reality, when I do that, 1. See, I'm breaking it down, but in actuality, I move together, I stop together. And when I break down things, it's segmenting different parts of the body, but in actuality, what's the main thing I'm trying to say? If this moves, this is moving too. This is adjusting also. Everything is connected when you do it. It's not just individualized, right? Individualized so you can understand it. Application-wise, everything's moving, right? So from here, when this foot turns and adjusts, right? Make sure that a lot of times that tuck-in is lost. So you want to maintain that tuck-in for that step and turn. When I take that step, push, support, turn, this is already lifting up. And you want to maintain the squareness, don't turn it with it. I take that step, and since you can think of it that there's a certain amount of unified tension, like if I'm holding my stance like this in Ichikimi Ma, I don't all of a sudden turn, all of a sudden look, I'm open like this. I'm not riding it like a jockey. I'm open like this. I take that step, I'm open like this, and I come here and I try to reform that jockey position. That is not what I'm doing, okay? That tension that I have to do when I take that forward step, right? In Ichikima, imagine me riding a horse. When I take that step, I'm maintaining that tension the entire time, right? So it's not like have it, lose it, put it back in place. No, if you imagine me riding on that horse, I take that step, maintain it the entire time. Okay, so that if you can understand that in your head, breakdown's different, but in actual application, everything's happening at the same time. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense when we do that forward step. When we do the backward step, remember I've said this before, anytime we do backward step or any kind of backward motion when Wing is passively done, right? I don't actively go, oh shit, he's coming, he's gonna close the gap. I gotta take my ass back and step back. No, the force is incoming to make me adjust to push me back. But you know, Wing Chun is the most badass art, and we're not pussies and step back like other fighters do, right? We're always constantly hungering for that center of gravity, going towards that center of gravity. So we're not retreating, covering back. As the attack comes forced, we smile. We want that attack to come in, and we're gonna close that gap. So the same process occurs when we're taking that backward step, okay? If we look at the backward step, I'm breaking it down too, right? I make that adjustment step, and then adjustment step, push back, and then here, I make that little adjustment here. So you want to make sure when you step back that the foot is actually going back, right? You want to go back exactly. A lot of times people can't maintain the squareness and they turn or they open up and so forth. But the same thing, if you can feel that sensation that I'm on my horse, I don't go like this and open up my horse and then pull back to do this. You are on your horse like a jockey. I have that position in place, and then I retain that amount of tension when I do it. So every single time I can control my center of gravity. Because you don't know, if I move, if I don't have that same tension, if I take that, for example, forward step, and then all of a sudden I open up like this, all of a sudden something hits my center of gravity. Next thing you know, you're like this. But if I have that same retention, something hits my center of gravity, boom, it adjusts because I'm still on the horse, properly riding it. Not, I have it, I lose it, I try to find it back, okay? So that's one of the main things I want to reiterate when you're working on that forward and backward step and teaching it, right? When I take that step back, right? This is adjusting, right? This is also adjusting. This is adjusting, supporting, and this is lifting off. This adjusting, lift off, and then notice I'm still on that jockey-like position every single time. Okay, so hopefully that's some things to think about when you're doing the forward step. Like I said, I prefer no set way to teach it. If you go forward, teach them the concept of going back, right? And then try to get that coordination. You'll see that a lot of people will struggle to maintain the Ichikimi Ma stance, and it's okay because guess what? You're at that suck stage. And you gotta get past that suck stage until you look like, you know, you're at that I'm sort of awful stage. And eventually get to the point where you actually look decent. So keep working on it, and just remember some of the tips I gave you when we're working with forward step and backward step, okay? All right.